Well, let's start out with something light before we dive into the COVID lab leak theory. This is a Bernie story that is just so nuts, just so kooky that I had to cover because it made me laugh out of the New York Post. This is another Bernie hit piece that is, I don't even know what their goal was with this, but I thought you guys would get a true kick out of it too. So, um, this is out of the New York Post. Um, Colin, I can't see your screen, so is it up? Is it up? Okay, cool. Yeah, you're good. Let's see. So this is so funny to me. I died laughing. So this is out of the New York Post, which, as you know, is not like a bastion of journalism, but it's the title is "Book Reveals Bernie's Hotel Demands: King Size Beds and 60-degree rooms." Oh my gosh, guys, could you believe it? What a dictator. So it goes through, and it's just absurd. And it says Senator Bernie Sanders is a demanding hotel guest whose requirements would make even the most pampered celebrity blush, according to a new book detailing Democratic Party politics. In an excerpt from Battle for the Soul Inside the Democrats' Campaigns to Defeat Trump, author Edward Isaac Devory reports that following Sanders' surprisingly strong 2016 presidential campaign, the Democratic Socialist staffers put together a Senator Comfort memo detailing his specifications for each hotel stay on his travels. The excerpt was first reported by Fox News. By the way, this is so common. This is not at all out of the norm. Anyone who is notable at all has what's called a rider, and it's just normal. It's so normal. This is just what happens. And nothing Bernie asked for is crazy at all. Surrender 2000, 40 bucks in the super chat. Thank you so much. Saying thanks for making it back to us, Jen. Andrew Longcaller since April of 2020. I'm so sorry you are going through that. I really appreciate the super chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, according to Devory, Sanders preferred suites with bathtubs. Oh my God, guys, bathtubs? Are you kidding? Bathtubs? Can you guys believe that Bernie Sanders wants to bathe? That's crazy. And a king size bed. Whoa. Can you believe he wants a king size bed? Like when he, like, and Jane, like, want to sleep and they want a king size bed. Just what a criminal, guys. Which had to have a down comforter or another blanket in the closet. Like, even the freaking, like, what is it, I don't know, the eight motel, whatever it is. All the motels which we stay in at Status Quo, we stay in inexpensive motels and hotels and stuff. They always have a blanket in the closet. That's just normal. This is crazy. He preferred that the extra blanket be dark blue and made of cotton. Sanders, 79, required that his room be kept at 60 degrees, even if it meant opening a window in winter or manually overriding the hotel's climate control system. This is just normal. It's not hard. They can simply switch the thing. It's not hard. This is just so funny. Devory recounts one incident on a trip to California when a hotel worker tried and failed to get their room to the required coolness. "So, Chloe," Devory writes, and annoyed Sanders told the employee, "You don't want me to sleep tonight?" The book adds that Sanders would preserve his men of the people bona fides by turning down room upgrades. Oh my God, guys, he turned down room upgrades. Can you believe this guy? Occasionally swapping with aides and telling them, "If there's a bomb in there, it's yours tonight." What? Bernie Sanders trying to murder his aides. Confirmed. The comfort memo also reportedly required that Sanders hotel rooms be stocked with green tea with honey, Gatorade, and assorted nuts. This guy out of control. This is just, this is crazy. The book also delves into Sanders' affection for private jets, which is not like we've seen pictures of him like literally just flying in coach. According to Devore, while Sanders was initially sheepish about using a chartered campaign plane, he got a kick out of not worrying about being late for a flight that couldn't take off without him. In fact, Sanders developed such a taste for flying private that his staff crafted a memo detailing the minimum requirements for any plane trip Sanders took beyond his regular flights to and from his home state of Vermont. Couldn't be too cramped, couldn't get too bumpy, according to Devore. During his 2020 presidential campaign, Sanders even used a private plane to travel to and from Iowa during breaks in then President Donald Trump's first impeachment trial. Sanders' office did not immediately return requests for comment. Maybe the Sanders office didn't immediately return requests for comments because you guys are insane. Maybe they have more important things to do than return your crazy requests for comment. Like, I got such a kick out of this article because it is such a reach. I can't. It's a real throwback to the campaign trail when they would just pull anything out of their pocket to try to j- smear Bernie with absolutely everything they could, such as like the jacket that he wears all the time, absolutely everywhere. That is, I think it was his son-in-law or someone got it for him, and he wears it literally everywhere all the time. And they're like, Bernie Sanders' jacket costs $400. It's like, what? What? So anyway, I think that is absolutely hilarious. Just so funny. I had to share it. Just for good times, good times, good times. John, I know I have to get back to you. I absolutely will. I promise. Keep the super chats coming. Do visit statuscoup.live and show us your support. I see that we have an amazing, amazing supporter here. Let me go see who that is. Statuscoup.live, which I'm so proud of our new domain. I think it is perfectly fitting, and you can also always watch us live there. Let's see. I don't think it shows me who did what. I think maybe Robert Malcolm today. I don't know. It doesn't show me day by day. But I think so. Thank you so, so much for your support. We really appreciate it. So if you guys aren't aware, then, oh, Andy Paperno. Yay. Thank you, Andy. You're always the best. If you guys aren't aware, Colin is with us. He turned in his notice to his full-time job, his previous full-time job, and he is with us, and he's incredible. We're so, so lucky. So Jordan and I were pulling the long haul all this time. So now we have Colin with us, working hard, and we're so grateful. So this is taking Status Quo to the next level. We also want to bring on another reporter, and we want to be able to take on more freelancers. We want to grow. We want to be live in more places. So we need more in-field reporting equipment, including another live view, which allows us to go live in the field. So if you can help us at any amount, statuscoup.live. Henry says, hey, Jen, a friend of mine now in Ireland had praised for a book on sale at that DC store today, even though she said she's forbidden to buy new books. That's amazing. So you're talking about writers, Reiters. That's so great. We'll show a clip of that. I did an interview at a very small, amazing bookstore that started in the 1930s that Amazon is putting into business and also is having a very difficult time due to COVID. So we'll play that. That's awesome, Henry. I love hearing that. So let's get into this lab leak theory that was previously forbidden. John War, I will get back to you. I promise. I will get back to you. I'm backed up on emails. But I will get back to you for sure. So, Colin, if you can pull up the Wall Street Journal intelligence on sick staff, I'm going to just start at the beginning here, and kind of give people how this all started, how it kind of became okay to talk about this. This Wall Street Journal article was the first kind of indication that it was okay to talk about this. If you guys will recall, Donald Trump and friends started to talk about the lab leak theory back when Trump was in office, but it was very quickly hushed, and that it was a very partisan issue, and it, no one, especially on the left, was, it was thought to be not okay to talk about it. It was thought to be racist to talk about it. The very fact or idea that COVID could have possibly leaked from labs or a lab that tests viruses such as this, which I always thought it was ridiculous that we couldn't even think about such a theory. But now things are changing. So here is how it kind of started to change. This is out of the Wall Street Journal, and May 23rd was when the tide started to turn. Intelligence on sick staff at Wuhan lab fuels debate on COVID-19 origin. Report says researchers went to hospital in November 2019, shortly before a confirmed outbreak. Adds to calls for probe of whether virus escaped lab. 3 researchers from China's Wuhan Institute of Virology became sick enough in November 2019 that they sought hospital care, according to a previously undisclosed U.S. intelligence report that could add weight to growing calls for a fuller probe of whether the COVID-19 virus may have escaped from the laboratory. The details of the reporting go beyond a State Department fact sheet issued during the final days of the Trump administration, which said that several researchers at the lab, a center for the study of coronaviruses and other pathogens, became sick in autumn 2019 with symptoms consistent with both COVID-19 and common seasonal illness. The disclosure of the number of researchers, the timing of their illnesses, and their hospital visits come on the eve of the meeting of the World Health Organization's decision-making body, which is expected to discuss the next phase of an investigation into COVID-19's origins. Current and former officials familiar with the intelligence about the lab researchers expressed differing views about the strength of the supporting evidence for the assessment. One person said that it was provided by an international partner and was potentially significant, but still in need of further investigation and additional corroboration, which I think is fine, right? It's okay to research things. It's okay to look into things. That should always be okay. I don't understand when it would never not be okay. It shouldn't be labeled racist to want to look into things. If there are reasons or if there's evidence, why wouldn't we want to look into it? If there was a lab leak, why wouldn't we want to know that? Why was it immediately shut down? It doesn't make any sense. There were always suspicious things surrounding what happened in Wuhan. There always was. If you'll recall, there was a doctor that was a whistleblower, and he suspiciously died. And there was a lot. There was a lot that was kind of cut up. There was a lot of reporting that wasn't allowed out. There was a lot of reporting that was memory hold, and none of that is okay. So now we have a kind of shift in what is allowed. So, Colin, if you pull up the Politico Dems back growing calls article, just at the top. Now, what is allowed is changing, and that's weird for so many reasons. Why does it take the media? Why does it take, the calls of politicians to tell you what is okay to think about. Why all of a sudden, just because, a Democrat says, oh, it is okay to think this now. It is okay to think about this. It is now okay for you to think about the potential of a lab leak. You can now think about this. Why does it take that? That's not how it should be. It should always be okay to think about that. It always made sense to think about a lab leak. If a lab in Wuhan is creating and like testing viruses, there's always going to be the potential for leaks. Yes, always. We do that too. I think there are other things out there that have leaked. I won't say that because I'll probably be kicked off of YouTube, but I absolutely, absolutely think there are things out there right now that have leaked. Absolutely, 100%. Things that have leaked that people are suffering from right now, and on purpose, potentially, maybe not leaks, but things that have been released on purpose in our communities that are out there that we're dealing with. But it's not okay to say that, so I won't say that because I'll be kicked off of YouTube. Here we are. So, going back to the Politico article, which came out, what day is it? Came out yesterday. Dems back growing calls for Congress to probe COVID lab leak theory. The ongoing discussions on Capitol Hill represent a remarkable bipartisan agreement that Congress should investigate the origins of a virus that has killed 3.5 million people worldwide. Yes, it has killed 3.5 million people worldwide. Why weren't we always looking at all potential avenues? Why? Support is growing in Congress for a probe of the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic, an effort that could pit Democratic lawmakers against the Biden administration as China hawks drew new attention to the theory that the virus leaked from a Wuhan lab. It's not yet clear what form the congressional inquiry would take, particularly whether the COVID origin question would be part of a broader review of the global crisis and the U.S. response. But the ongoing discussions on Capitol Hill represent a remarkable bipartisan agreement that Congress should investigate the origins of a virus that has killed 3.5 million people worldwide, including nearly 600,000 Americans. Democrats had previously dismissed the lab leak theory as a GOP talking point, but lawmakers from both parties are giving the scenario renewed consideration after the Wall Street Journal reported that 3 scientists at the Wuhan Institute of Virology were hospitalized in November 2019 after developing symptoms consistent with COVID-19, just before the virus spread across China. As we analyze what went wrong, we can do in the future to have the answers to these questions too, said Senator Tim Kaine, a member of the Senate committee. I think you're going to see Congress address some of these matters as well to get to the bottom of it. The talks, which center on the intelligence and health committees, are likely to ramp up pressure to address building frustration with its broader China strategy. Hawks in Congress, as well as former Trump administration officials, the administration is moving too slowly at a clear policy for dealing with China. For the first time, are open to entertaining their argument that the Biden administration needs to exert diplomatic pressure on Beijing to release data from the Wuhan lab. Senior Biden administration officials have repeatedly said that any investigation into the origins of the virus should be spearheaded by an independent international group such as the World Health Organization, which, by the way, the WHO might be complicit in this. Health and Human Services Secretary Xavier Becerra was the latest to press that argument in remarks Tuesday before a WHO ministerial meeting. but the WHO's first stab at an investigation, which resulted in a report in March that said the lab leak theory was extremely unlikely, was stymied because China would not share key lab records and data. On Wednesday, President Joe Biden said he had asked U.S. intelligence agencies to redouble their efforts to collect and analyze information that could bring us closer to a definitive conclusion on the origins of COVID-19 and to report back in 90 days. He added that a preliminary report by U.S. intelligence agencies earlier this month coalesced around two likely scenarios: a laboratory accident or human contact with an infected animal. I have asked for areas of further inquiry that may be required, including specific questions for China. I have also asked that this effort include work by our national labs and other agencies of our government to augment the intelligence community's efforts, Biden said in the statement. So I won't read this entire thing to you. I think what is important to understand is that this is a complete reversal. This is an absolute 180. No Democrats would talk about this before. No Democrats would talk about this at all. No Democrats would even allow the mention of a potential lab leak. Now, all of a sudden, Democrats are acting like it's completely rational to ask the question. Democrats are acting like all along it was okay to ask the question. Why? It wasn't okay to ask the question while Trump was in office. That's when we should have been asking it all along. It's always okay to ask the question. It was important to ask the question. But if you asked the question before, once again, I'll say it over and over. If we had asked the question 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, a month ago, on Facebook, on Twitter, wherever, we would have been banned. We would have kicked off. Our stuff would have been deleted. Why was it okay before? Why? Why is it okay all of a sudden? Why? What's happening here? What's happening to truth? Why is Fauci doing a 180? Why is Savior of Fauci doing a 180? It's not because he had a come to Jesus moment. Neither did Biden. Neither did these Democrats. No, this is all politics. Didn't have some revelation that this. It's politics. They don't care about the truth. They never. The lab leak theory was always something to look to. It was always a question. It always makes sense. I'm not saying nothing. I have no idea what happened. Well, someone does. Someone does know. People do. I don't know. But it's something that we needed to investigate. So how many out there do we need to investigate that we're not allowed to vote? How many out there are we allowed to say and for fear of being silenced? That's no exaggeration. That's not an exaggeration at all. Colin, if you can pull up the Forbes Facebook lifts ban article, please. These bans that I've been hinting at, again, it's no exaggeration. This is happening. This has been happening all along. This out of Forbes talks exactly about this. Facebook lifts ban on calling coronavirus man-made. Facebook is rescinding its months-old ban on posts suggesting the coronavirus was created by humans, the social media giant announced Wednesday, as some experts argue the virus's origins remain unclear and the theory that it escaped from a research lab, an idea still short on concrete evidence, shouldn't be dismissed yet. Facebook first barred posts claiming the coronavirus is man-made or manufactured in early February, part of a wider effort to tamp down on misinformation about COVID-19 and common vaccines on its platform. The company rolled back this policy against speculating on how the virus was created Wednesday evening, setting ongoing probes into the origins of the pandemic. We're continuing to work with health experts to keep pace with the evolving nature of the pandemic and regularly update our policies as new facts and trends emerge. In the early days of the pandemic, most health experts argued the coronavirus probably originated in animals and then jumped to humans naturally. But a handful of observers, including former President Donald Trump's allies, floated the possibility that the virus leaked from a laboratory like China's Wuhan Institute of Virology. Some experts dismissed this theory last year and argued there's little evidence to back it up. But in the last few weeks, a number of scientists and public officials have called for more scrutiny. In a letter in the journal Science 2 weeks ago, several scientists argued the lab accident hypothesis is still viable and deserves to be studied. And President Joe Biden said Wednesday U.S. intelligence agencies haven't reached a conclusion on the lab accident theory or the animal spillover theory. So the article goes on a little bit. It's not a very extensive article, but you get the point. You get the point. It's a matter of censorship. It's a matter of suppression. I'm not saying that the virus leaked from a lab. I'm saying it's okay to explore if it did. It was always okay to explore if it did. It's important to explore if it did. How much time have we lost? I'm not a fan of spreading conspiracy theories, especially harmful conspiracy theories on social media. No, I don't want that. But what do we lose when we don't even allow conversation, when we don't allow exploration, when we silence the voices of scientists? People say, believe science, but what people don't think about is scientists don't just, have one opinion or one thought process. Science isn't just decided in a moment. Science needs exploration. Science needs testing. Science needs investigation. It's absurd to denounce that or to not allow that. It's absurd that you weren't even allowed to say lab leak theory. It's absurd that you weren't even allowed to report that there was a possibility of a lab leak theory 3 weeks ago. That's crazy. That's nuts. That's not okay. So that is, I really wanted to report this because I wasn't allowed to before, simply. It's not that we self-censor, but for the long-term good of the channel and for the long-term good of the things we report, that is we have to pick and choose our battles. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to come of this. I think it's a very symptomatic or symbolic example of other things that are censored and that are not allowed to be said. And we know that there are so many examples of things that are not allowed to be said, from 20 years ago, 30 years ago, whatever, that turn out to be true, later on. So take what the experts say with a grain of salt. Maybe something will come of this, that the fact that the lab leak theory is allowed to now be said or investigated. I don't know what will happen from here on out. Obviously, nobody knows exactly, but I think it's a good thing that we are now at least allowed to say it. Once again, smash the like button, share this stream. If you're watching us elsewhere, do whatever you're supposed to do there. Retweet us, share us, subscribe to us. Get the word out about Status Coup. We're being massively suppressed. Also, go to statuscoup.live and help us out. $5, $10, whatever you can help us out with. Help us to afford new in-field reporting equipment. We need a new device in order to go live in the field. This helps us to get new equipment that attracts the cell signal in a greater way, for better ways for lack of better ways of explaining it, so that we can bring you a clear signal in the field and bring you the stories that matter to you. That's statuscoup.live, and you can just start going there anyway to watch our live streams. Statuscoup.live. And Colin, if you can bring up the writer's books clip, I want to show people the clip of that. And I think this is a really important interview that I did. And I think, to set this up, I people might not know this. Maybe you do. You've probably seen in every single live stream that I do from my house, you'll probably see books in the background. I have a true book addiction. There's something comforting about books. Web Angel, how much is that device? So we have a live view device that is $30,000, which took us a very, very long time to afford. The monthly cost of that is anywhere between $500 and $1,000. Which is just crushing for us, but it is what we need to do the reporting that we do. So the second device that we need, we are not going to be able to afford anything near that. It'll be anywhere between $2,500 to $10,000, depending on how much we're able to raise for a second reporter on another, the other side of the country, and then of course the monthly fee for the bonded cell signals from AT&T and Verizon, etc. So we need to raise quite a bit. To summarize that. So statuscoup.live, anything you're able to help us out with is enormously helpful, to put it non-eloquently. But it makes a difference. We don't just sit in the studio. We really, truly go out there and give the microphone back to the people. So I hope that answers your question. So as I was reporting in DC, I always look for bookstores wherever I am. And so I went to this bookstore, and it's called Writers, and REITER apostrophe S. It's been around since the 1930s. And like a lot of small businesses, a lot of small bookstores, they're struggling. And this guy, Bobby, his family's owned it for such a long time. His parents have unfortunately passed away, but he's not able to pay the rent. He hasn't been able to pay himself or take an income for well over a year. COVID has crushed him. Amazon has crushed him. Absolutely crushed him. Of course, Amazon doesn't pay taxes. Jeff Bezos doesn't pay taxes. And that hurts everybody. That hurts Bobby. That hurts writers. And I found books there that I would have never found anywhere else. Bobby is very progressive. Everybody there is very progressive. There's a gentleman who works there who is from El Salvador. They were so excited about what we do here at Status Coup. So I didn't have my equipment with me. I popped up my phone, my iPhone. I just did a spontaneous interview. So I hope there's a much longer interview, but I wanted to show you guys a snippet of it to show you what small bookstores are going through, to show you what's happening. And it's really cool. This bookstore is actually right underneath the State Department, which is crazy. And this guy, Bobby, since his family has been in this business for so long, he has insane stories like of spies. Like a spy that he knew for a long time was like killed, like murdered and pushed off of the Watergate Hotel, like stuff like that. It's crazy. So Colin, if you can go ahead and play that video for folks.
Across the street is the World Bank and the IMF that completely was able to just send their workforce home. And they're talking about in June, and that the 12 to 15,000 people that represented were the base of the other the cafe every day, espresso, a cigarette out front. They're all European smokers, and some of them would buy books, but they paid the rent. The rent was paid, and I haven't been able to rouse up any support from any area at all. Even my banks won't bother to help me at this point. Yeah, they talk about 50% of the workforce is part of small businesses, and yeah, we haven't gotten anything. They've even abandoned us as we could thrive on the government, just selling stuff to the government. I mean, we were designed to sell the government the books they need to the labs and to the Air Force bases, and we did very well with that. And there was never any overpricing. There was never any problem, but the industry changed and made it a little more difficult. And we spent a lot of effort on selling books to them, and basically the window was that that people who I buy the books from expect me to pay them in 30 to 60 days, and my customer refuses to pay me before 60 and 90 days. And at a certain point, it got caught up with itself. It was simply a month, and like most people, really, literally, just I act like it and feel like it, that I'm just really like 1 month away from, paying the bills or whatever. I haven't drawn in a paycheck, in a long time.
Can you speak on how it makes you feel as a small business owner, as a small bookstore owner, and the other areas of business you're in, that Amazon doesn't have to pay taxes, that Amazon is allowed to get away with all of these things?
It's bizarre. I mean, if we used to joke about it in the beginning when they were growing, and the things that we did, we would joke that if we did what they did, if I stopped paying the taxes and then tried to grow my business and because I knew what to do, and we were even click through before them, and it's abhorrent that I've actually had to pay taxes almost every year, and yeah, they don't pay anything, and he should pay, and I do believe in a very progressive tax rate, and once you make a couple $1 million, come on now. And hopefully we'll see that, and hopefully they'll go for this corporate tax rate. And I don't think 28% of profits is asking for too much. A lot of institutions and corporations and individuals have made fortunes through and we even had some puff of, we sold some masks, and we, tried to contribute, but didn't, basically we gave away alcohol and masks, just paid for it out of our own pocket, to make sure people had them that, surrounded us. But I haven't really had income the last year, it's very little, and I'm not paying taxes on it. It's not worth it, Alvin
Media
Toffler
folks
was a standard, was a regular. Whenever he was in town, he would come, and I had developed over 20 or 30 years a relationship with him. But I was friends with a Reagan-era spy that I'm sure they threw him off the roof of the Watergate if he didn't just jump to suicide.
Can you say a name or no?
Gus Weiss, I guess. Yeah. Actually, I have these notes from him I'd love to publish.
Wow.
The NSA would say, come and get me. But he was up there with him. In the years that we knew him, he was completely bonkers and had a minder. And I think he was probably gay. And he had a minder. He couldn't be let. This was 80s and 90s. And the FBI would come to the store. The Russians would come, and then the FBI would come, and my mother would say, "Oh, we can't tell you we're not going to tell you, them what you buy," and they would leave, and then the wall fell and the guy showed up again. You know, the whatever he was. He, you know, it was the probably the station chief for the KGB, and you know, he would come and flirt with my mother. But they had a long 20 or 30 year relationship.
Yeah, that the whole interview is really interesting. It's about 40 minutes long. I really urge you to check out their site. It's reiters.com, reiters.com. You'll find stuff there that you won't find anywhere else. If you're in DC, it is directly under the State Department, not associated with it, but they do accept online orders. So do check that out for sure. Smash the like button if you're on YouTube. Share this stream. It's crazy, the suppression. It's totally nuts. But well, it's okay. We'll get through it. We're in talks with some other folks, Rockfin, and as well as some over the top to show up on Roku and your Fire Sticks and your Apple TVs and etc. So it's okay. YouTube can do what they're gonna do, but even so, smash the like button and find us on statusquo.live. Colin, if you can pull up the Scientology LA Times article, please. I don't know. You guys know me. I'm very interested in cults. Not that I want to join one, but I'm fascinated by the psychology of cults. I don't know if you guys know this. I've talked about this before, but I studied psychology in college, and I've always been fascinated with the psychology of people. I always want to know what makes people tick, especially bad people. I want to know why they do what they do. I literally I cannot understand how people can knowingly hurt others, knowingly do bad things, um, especially those who purport to do good things, but know that they're doing bad things, if that makes sense. So cults fascinate me uh, for so many reasons. I could go on and on about that, but Scientology is one of those cults that I am interested in. I just Leah Remini's stuff I find interesting to watch. I I think that it's very brave of her to have come forward and to have shared so much. Obviously, I think like anyone who knows about Scientology is interested in um, what the hell's going on with Tom Cruise, all of that sort of thing. But I, one of the things that's in the news right now that I don't think is getting enough attention is what the hell is going on with Danny Masterson. So Danny Masterson, he's not like a superstar, but he's pretty well known. If you guys watched that '70s show, he was the cool, like, curly haired kid, like, chill, whatever. But he's a Scientologist. By the way, a lot of people don't realize this, but Elizabeth, why is her name escaping me? Hold on. Elizabeth, what's her name? Elizabeth, what's her name? Elizabeth. Hold on. Why can't I think of her name? Elizabeth Moss. Elizabeth Moss is a Scientologist, which I find so crazy. Elizabeth Moss is a Scientologist. She's in The Handmaid's Tale. Like, why doesn't she see it? Why doesn't she see it? Why? Anyway, that's just a side note. But my whole point here is Danny Masterson is in Scientology, as are a lot of people that you probably might not expect. And right now, he is in a rape trial because he's a bad person. And through this rape trial, actually a lot of Scientology's secrets are coming out into the open. So this article is out of the LA Times, and it's titled Scientology's Secrets Spill into Open in Danny Masterson Rape Case. This article came out today. Oh, for some background, if you guys aren't aware, just so you know, like if you guys haven't watched any of Leah Remini's stuff, whatever, the Scientologist, if you are in it, you're in it. And people enter it thinking it's going to help change their lives. You're not allowed to take psychiatric medications. They don't believe in psychiatrists, whatever. You end up paying a ton of money to like advance. They believe in like wacky shit, like there's there's like freaking alien stuff at the end. Um, it was created by L. Ron Hubbard, who was a science fiction writer. I don't know how people could ever believe this, but they do. And you pay to get to the end, which no one ever really does. But in any case, they pay to get to it. There's a Scientology. There's a celebrity center, and it's a lot. It's a whole lot. But if you defect, then you can get cut off from your family. Like you're considered a suppressive person. So there's a lot of reporting or speculation about, for example, what happened when Katie Holmes left Tom Cruise, and like what happened to Surrey Cruise and all of that sort of thing. And so like when Leah Remini left, her family went with her, thankfully. Um, but there's a lot going on there, which happens with a lot of cults. Like one of the signs of it something being a cult is that if you leave it or whatever, or if you enter it, then you are supposed to not be with your family, or like they want to cut you off from your family, like they want you to focus only on the cult. So there's a lot of abuse that takes place with Scientology, and anyone that speaks out against Scientology, or anyone that like leaves it and speaks out against it, is often harassed and abused. There's a lot of stuff that happens. Scientology has one of the best public relations things going on. They have a huge social media presence. They are also, due to Hollywood, due to money, they're able to do a lot of things that other cults like aren't able to do. So they're very well connected. They're very they have a lot of power. So anyway, back to Danny Masterson. The Church of Scientology works hard to keep its inner workings out of the public eye. It has hired private detectives to keep tabs on straying members, and experts say its lawyers vigorously defend against legal incursions, arguing to judges that Scientology's beliefs are not courtroom fodder. By the way, they are legally registered as a church, so they don't pay taxes. But at a hearing last week in the rape case against actor Danny Masterson, church officials were unable to stop their practices from being debated in open court. 3 women took the stand to recount violent sexual assaults allegedly committed by the celebrity Scientologist, and each told similar stories of how church officials tried to stop them from reporting Masterson to police. One woman testified that a church official instructed her to write a statement showing she would take responsibility for a 2001 assault in which she alleges Masterson raped her while she was unconscious. Another woman who was born into Scientology and planned to report Masterson to police in 2004, a year after she said he raped her at his Hollywood mansion, recounted how a Scientology attorney showed up at her family's home. The lawyer, according to the woman, warned that she would be expelled from the church if she went to authorities. "We're going to work out how you cannot lose your daughter," the attorney told the woman's father, according to her testimony. The focus on Scientology during the preliminary hearing, which stretched over 4 days and included lengthy discussions of internal church texts and doctrine, wasn't lost on Los Angeles County Superior Court Judge Charlene Olmedo. In ruling that there was sufficient evidence against Masterson to allow the case to proceed toward trial, Olmedo concluded Scientology has an expressly written doctrine that not only discourages but prohibits its members from reporting one another to law enforcement. So that's something that is important to understand, is that Scientology essentially has written its own laws and rules, and that members are expected to abide by that. So if there are abuses, and there are many, many abuses, there's the Sea Org, which abuses many, many, many children, forcing them to work in severe labor abuses, etc. That's not supposed to be reported according to these insane rules. You know, they're essentially allowed to operate with in their own world, and because they're registered as a church, because they don't have to pay, you know, the taxes that they would have to pay if they weren't registered as a church. Because of the power that they hold, they get away with so much, and so many people are fearful of them because they operate as a mob also. It's horrific to think about what goes unreported and what happens behind closed doors. The policy explained, I don't know if I read this already, but I'll read it again because it deserves emphasis. The policy explained why several of the women did not report Masterson's alleged crimes to the police for more than a decade, the judge found. It was a type of public dissection that is unusual for the insular, enigmatic institution. The church, which counts a number of high-profile actors among its parishioners and operates a celebrity center in the heart of Hollywood, has long been accused of going to extraordinary lengths to keep criminal allegations and other claims of wrongdoing in-house, experts said. The activities of Scientology have been so much a part of the evidence that's being put forth as to why these women were not immediately going to law enforcement that it's sort of brought the dirty laundry out into public view, which is exactly what Scientology does not want to have happen, said Mike Rinder, the church's former top spokesman, who left the faith. Which, why is the law, like, this is what's wrong with corporate media. Why is the LA Times writing who left the faith in 2007? No. Who left the cult in 2007? Why are they writing the faith? That's absurd. That's so, why? Why are you writing that in LA Times? That's ridiculous. Mike Rinder's great, though. Mike Rinder, look him up. He works with Leah Remini often to reveal what's happening with Scientology. In statements to the Times, the church denied it has a policy that dissuades members from reporting crimes, despite repeated references to Scientology texts during the hearing that appeared to include the directive. Karen Powell, the church's top spokeswoman. I'm laughing at the word Karen because in Reddit, when people talk about Scientology in a negative way, they often will write, "Hi, Karen," because she and her cohorts will try to do some PR spin. So they all, like, when people will be like Scientology, blah, 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 they'll be like, "Hi, Karen," to sign off on their message, to be like, "We know you're here, Karen," just as a side, just as a little side thing. Said Olmeda's comments were flat out wrong and dismissed the allegations against Masterson as nothing more than a money shakedown by women who are also engaged in a civil suit against him. So basically anything you see by Karen is just a lie. The women, Powell claimed without evidence, are parroting comments made by Leah Remini, an actress who became an outspoken critic of Scientology after breaking with it in 2015. Rinder is a co-executive producer with Remini of a Netflix series about Scientology. The case against Masterson, who starred in the 2000 sitcom That 70s Show, is a relatively rare example of a Scientologist facing criminal charges. see. Let's see. Yeah, so this article is quite long. I do urge you to read it. One woman testified that she wrote a letter to an international justice chief whom she described as the church's ultimate authority on disputes between Scientologists, seeking permission to sue Masterson. Permission, which you have to seek. To sue Masterson and report him to the police. References were made in court to knowledge reports, things that shouldn't be reports, and OW write-ups. A prosecutor repeatedly evoked books and letters written by L. Ron Hubbard, the former science fiction author who founded the church, as official Scientology doctrine. When a woman explained during her testimony that wagla is the church's disdainful term for police and courts, Almedo asked if Scientologists refer to non-members as wogs, much like wizards in the fictional universe of Harry Potter call non-magical people muggles. I suppose, the woman responded, it's not a nice thing. Masterson's attorney, Thomas Mesereau, initially tried to minimize Scientology's place in the case, asking Almedo to issue an order limiting mentions of the church or its practices in court. I wonder why. He argued the restrictions were needed because of religious bias that investigators from the Los Angeles Police Department and Masterson's accusers harbored against Scientology. Almedo slapped down the request, saying she found it interesting that Mesereau argued Scientology should have little to do with the case, but also referred to the church 88 times in a 29-page brief. As the hearing wore on, Mesereau appeared to change tactics, introducing church documents as evidence in an attempt to undercut the credibility of Masterson's accusers. While cross-examining one woman, he read from an OW write-up and suggested the church document amounted to an admission by the woman that her encounter with Masterson had been consensual and driven by her promiscuity. Oh, where have we heard that before? She fired back that the document had been written by church officials who took comments she'd made to a Scientology counselor out of context and repurposed them to defend Masterson. So keep in mind, this is a cult that is defending rape. Mesereau also brought out a copy of Introduction to Scientology Ethics, a 528-page tome authored by Hubbard as he cross-examined another alleged victim. One of the women who testified at the hearing said that when she reported the alleged rape to church officials, she was told to read the chapter of Introduction to Scientology Ethics that instructs members to not go to police in such cases. In a one-on-one meeting, a church ethics officer told her not to use the R word and said it would be a high crime to report another Scientologist to law enforcement, the woman testified. She also said she was required to complete an ethics course because she had done something to deserve what Masterson did to me. So, again, I urge you to read this article. It is completely disgusting and horrifying what Scientology does to people. This is, of course, not the only situation out there. The fact that it is making headlines is actually shocking and surprising. It's good that it is making headlines. I mean, imagine how much else is out there. Imagine all the children that are in the Sea Org and elsewhere. It's classified as a church, which lets it get away with all kinds of stuff. It has its own laws, it brainwashes people, and no one is held accountable. I mean, there's so much here. It's protected by politicians, it's protected because it's Hollywood, it's protected by all of its money. I don't remember if I said church already, but I'll say it again because church protects, the fact that it's designated as a church gives it so much protection. So I hope even more comes out about this case. I think these women are so brave. I can imagine what Scientology is trying to do to them. So she's, I mean, when I say that I'm like addicted to reading about cults, it's of course I emphasize not because it's a fun thing. It's because I don't understand how anyone could be so sick as to run them and to start them. I do understand why people join them and fall into their grasp. Um, and I want to understand how, how to help people get out of them, to be honest, how to help people get out of their grasp, um, the deprogramming aspect of things. Ay, ay, ay. Go ahead and smash that like button. This YouTube suppression is really, really something. Going back to when I was in DC, also go to statuscoup.live, and you can help us out with our in-field reporting needs. We do need some new in-field equipment, which you can help us out with at any amount at all. You can also help us out at gofundme.com/statuscoup. We also really, really appreciate any super chats right through our YouTube. Also, if you're on Twitch, you can help us out there, etc. Batter Minoff makes a great point. Imagine the sex abuse before social media. Absolutely. All right. So we have $20 in our reporting equipment fund today. Thank you guys. Amazing, amazing. Colin will be going live from Marvin Scott III Memorial Day barbecue to keep his memory alive and to call attention to what has happened to him. Colin, if you can bring up the Coco houseless trans woman interview bit, that would be wonderful. So after I was reporting in DC from, hopefully you guys saw it, from the Amazon protest right in front of the Blackrock building in DC. I went to dinner at Ebbett's Grill, which I definitely recommend if you guys are there. I was walking back from dinner back to my hotel, and I saw and heard actually the Salvation Army was making a stop, which they regularly do, and I kind of turned back around and I decided, I'll see if I can do an interview. And I ended up connecting with a Black trans houseless woman, and her story is so, I don't know really what the words are, but inspiring. She's been through so much. She was sex trafficked for 5 years, raped through all that time. So here is a piece of her interview that I wanted to share with you.
I was forced to be on the street. I was forced to actually experience life, real life with struggle and pain and great and highs and lows, because that's what life is like, a mixture of everything into one. All happening at the same time. Prior to homelessness, I didn't have any options. I didn't have any decisions. I wasn't able to make my own decisions. Everything was being so conditioned for me due to pain. Everything was so bricked up in me, bricked up in my brain.
Do you mind saying who was making these decisions for you?
Society, my neighbors, my enemies, my colleagues, my classmates, my parents' friends, my friends' parents, roommates, cast members, girls that I was performing with, castmates, everyone was deciding my factor, or my fate, I should say, due to their life experiences. That will determine what I'm going to do, or how far I'm going to live my life, because they always prepare my heart. Don't do this because this happened to me. I went here and this happened, or they always prepare, and that invokes fear into your heart, and it makes you into a coward, and it actually is dimming your light, to be honest. And that happens so often because it happens and more because it's something called systematic bullying. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Systematic bullying is very prevalent in society when we don't even know it's occurring because it's either we're on this side or that side. So if you're not feeling it, then you're giving it. If you're not feeling it, you're giving it. You know.
Yeah, so she had incredible things to say. I also did a members video about my time with her. I actually ended up taking her out to dinner, and I discovered that a, she wasn't sleeping on anything. Um, so I took her to get a tent and um, a sleeping bag and a pillow and things like that. I just couldn't, imagine the thought of leaving her with nothing to sleep on. So yeah, I urge you to check that out. It's a real shame that YouTube isn't allowing us to show things like that to more people. Um, it's discouraging, but she has a real story to share. She's been through so much. She has dreams of being a screen writer, real talents. She's not letting anything keep her down. Um, Mean Boy, thank you so much for the incredible super chat. I appreciate that so much. Jaws76 499 the super chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. Really. Um, yeah, her name is Coco. I feel forever touched by her. I just, she grew up in Florida and um yeah, she trusted the wrong people and she just ended up, yeah, just being raped and sex trafficked for 5 years. I just can't. And one of the things that I say in the members video that I did was when I took her to the store after dinner, I kept pointing to things like, oh, maybe a camping pad, like so it's more comfortable for you under the sleeping bag, and then I realized like, oh, that I kept pointing to things, and that ended up being like such a privileged thing for me to do, because she can't carry all that stuff. She kindly was like, oh yeah, she was like laughing and we were having a good time, and she's like, oh Jen, like I'd love to take the whole store, but space, Jen, space, like I can't carry all this stuff. um, so I don't know. I got her one of those phones. We ended up going to Walmart, which of course I don't love Walmart, but it was the only thing open. It was pretty late. So I got her one of those prepaid Walmart phones, so she could contact her sister and her niece. Um, and I hope we can stay in touch. I give her my info. But it's one of those things like, that's what you guys made possible. You guys made it possible for me to be there in DC reporting on the Amazon story. You guys made it possible for me, to be there at that bookstore to capture Bobby Nelson's story at Writer's Books. You guys made it possible for me to meet Coco and to have my life forever changed by meeting her. And one thing that I do talk about in my members video is that, it's not like I'm sheltered. I'm not sheltered from these things. I didn't grow up with my mother. My mother's was deeply into drugs. My mother's been homeless for most of my life. She lives in California. Um, and I often experienced stuff with her, like when I was sent back to her sometimes. So I don't like, I'm not sheltered. I did have a pretty bad childhood and stuff, but now I do, I am, I'm certainly not black. I have white privilege. Um, I am definitely privileged in a lot of ways. And um, as far as now, you know, it's really status quo. What we do at status quo is all about shining the light on what's happening. The fact that there's another thing that I talk about too on the members video. I came across a homeless woman, Robin, a older Black woman. She was so kind. And I didn't even, that day, I had just come from reporting at a Free Palestine protest. And I did not tell, I didn't bring it up, but I gave Robin some money and I was just chatting with her a bit. And she said that, she said something like, compared to, this is like in Robin's words, she said, compared to what they're going through in Gaza, I feel like a princess. Or she said something like, I live like a princess. So this is a homeless woman. And she said, she was saying she feels like she lives like a princess. Like these people, these are Black houseless women, and they're so positive and inspiring, and like keeping their heads up and like not giving up ever. And yeah, I don't know. There's so many great people out there. There's so many great people who deserve to have their stories told. And that's why we are here at Status Quo. And that's why we are so grateful to you guys as viewers. And that's why we love you. So I'm going to sign off for today. I will be back tomorrow. And I just wanted to make sure you guys know how much we appreciate all of you. So, mwah, mwah, mwah. I just knocked over my little fan. But I will see you tomorrow, and know that you are appreciated. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful night. And kudos to Colin behind the scenes of the camera. Alrighty, go to statusquo.live if you're able to support